Okay, guys, hello. Hello, I am back. I'm a little late today. I had another computer problem, but I am here. I'm ready to start this. I'm gonna put the pillow up. Um, yeah, we're starting with chapter 4 today. It's called How You Live Your Day is How You Live Your Life. Winter is settling in, normally a time when I feel a bit gloomy and depressed about how the fading light and the oncoming cold is coming and the snowy weather. But things have changed. I wake up this morning with a smile. As I look out my bedroom window, the sun streams into my eyes, warming my face and neck, and I repeat a ritual started just a few short weeks ago. Thank you, dear bed, for another wonderful night's rest. My cat Poupon snuggles up next to me in his usual position under my arm, hears my words, and stretches his paw up to touch my face. Life is good. For the first time in a long while, I feel excited about when to hole up and write this book. The blanket of sunset moment. Before I get out of bed, I look into Poupon's eyes and say, "Yes, my sweet angel, today is going to be a really, really good day." I'm about to visit Louise at her home in San Diego. A last-minute speaking engagement is giving us the chance to spend a few days working together. I'm off on the next leg of this adventure. It's such a warm, sunny day in San Diego that it feels like a whole world away from the below freezing temperatures back home in Massachusetts. I've been traveling for hours and I'm really looking forward to a cup of tea and a good meal. The car drops me off in front of a stately building downtown. I step inside the front door, dragging my luggage behind me, and I'm met by a friendly doorman who takes me to the elevator that will deliver me up to Louise's home. As the elevator door slowly opens into a small foyer, I'm met by elegant Asian decor and chant music playing softly in the background. I ring the bell and Louise greets me with a signature smile. "Welcome, darling. Come in." I cross the threshold into another world. "Is this music always playing?" I ask, looking back at the foyer, intrigued by the idea of welcoming guests with the calming sounds of chanting. "Yes," she replies quietly as she closes the door with the gentleness of a monk. She motions for me to follow as I look around in amazement. The place looks and feels like a beautiful spa. Louisa's home is grand, the views are epic, and the decor is bright, cheery, and filled with bold colors. There's a small water fountain softly bubbling in the entryway behind a row of lush green plants. As I walk by a sweeping staircase, I come face to face with the giant statue of Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion. She seems right at home. The living room area is wide open with tall windows that look out over downtown San Diego and Balboa Park. I immediately head toward a striking orchid garden sitting atop a baby grand piano. "Wow, how long have you had this?" I ask. "It's beautiful." "It was a gift from someone quite a while ago, and I just keep replacing the orchids when necessary." As I look around the expanse of space, I notice that orchids are a theme. I see them everywhere. Louise shows me to my room, and we agree to have an early dinner once I've had a chance to unpack and freshen up. While settling into the guest room, I think about the changes I've made to my morning routine since my last conversation with Louise. Upon returning home from London, I started noticing the habitual thoughts associated with my morning tasks, and I was surprised by what I learned about myself. One thing I discovered, for instance, was a pattern of focusing on problems while taking a shower. No sooner did I start to wash my face or shampoo my hair than my mind would wrap itself around a difficult email I needed to write, a request I wanted to decline, or a looming deadline that had to be met. As my shower progressed, I turned the situation over and over in my mind in a futile effort to find a solution so I could feel better. Instead, by the time I was drying off, I'd feel anxious about facing the day. This practice followed me from the shower to other tasks, such as brushing my teeth, choosing clothes for the day, or getting dressed. The subtle negative self-talk that accompanied the discovery of a new wrinkle or figure flaw would often expand into bigger conversations in my head about the challenges of aging or the need to lose weight. Clearly, I had work to do. The beauty of awareness is that it interrupts a pattern. Bringing attention to our inner conversations, the way we say things to ourselves every day, is a way of becoming present to the truth. The messages we give ourselves day in and day out deepen a groove in the mind, giving them more power. And they also transmit energy out into the world, drawing back to us the very thing we focus on. Once I saw how pervasive and entrenched these thoughts habits were, I went about the business of shifting them. I started affirming the changes I wanted to make with a focus on self-love and acceptance. I began writing, speaking, and pasting affirmations around my home, little signs that read, "Changing my thoughts is easy and comfortable. I love improving my morning routine," and "It is a joy to speak to myself in kind and loving ways." I even put a notice in the shower that stated, "I am showered with good thoughts all day long." After using many of the affirmations Louise and I had discussed during our last conversation, I noticed changes within just a couple of weeks. These new thoughts were trading places with the old ones, and my mornings were becoming more peaceful and enjoyable. I was programming a far better start to my day, and it felt good. Really good. Louise and I decided to walk to a neighborhood restaurant for dinner. While we waited for our food, I fill her in on what's been happening at home, my new awareness, and the changes I've made in my life since our last visit. "This is good," she tells me. "You're starting to pay attention. We need to become aware of what we habitually say to ourselves during the day. It's important to start listening. If you notice that you say something more than 3 times, you're probably saying it a lot. For some people, 'oh shit' could be a very repetitive theme. If people get a hold of their day, they can get a hold of their life." I was certainly having the experience myself. "Let's talk about how to create the day," Louise suggests. "You can start by paying attention to how you leave the house. What do you think or say as you open the door to go out? What do you say as you close the door? What do you say to yourself as you walk down the stairs or when you get in the car? Are you approaching your day with excitement and enthusiasm or worry and stress? As you leave your home, it's a great time to plan your day, to program what you want to have happen rather than leave it up to chance." I think about my routines and how I'm certainly not accustomed to programming my day. Instead, I typically walk out the front door and down the steps toward the garage, focused on whether or not I've turned things off or put away anything my cat might get into while I'm gone. As I get in the car, I go through a mental list of errands and stops I need to make so I can plan a route that will allow me to avoid traffic. Let's use driving as an example of one way to start your day differently, Louise proposes. First of all, have your car be a friend. Talk to it nicely. I often say, "Hi, darling. How are you? So nice to see you. We're going to have a nice ride to the office." You might even name your car. I do. And when I leave, my surrounded by good drivers, and I make sure to send love into all the cars around me. I always like to feel that there's love everywhere in the road. Louise mentions other affirmations used when driving, and I quickly jot them down. My ride is easy and effortless. My drive goes smoothly and more quickly than I expect. I feel comfortable in the car. I know this will be a beautiful day to drive to the office or school or the store or the like. I bless my car with love. I send love on the road. What a way to travel. To Louise's driving affirmations, I think about the idea of sending love to every person on the road. Once again, just imagine a world where every driver did that. While it might seem like a crazy idea, I can't help but be inspired by a vision of the future, a world where every human being understands their own spiritual nature and therefore uses the creative power of their mind to fill the world with good intentions. Since thought influences reality, just think about how the planet would change. Maybe the vision isn't so far-fetched after all. The recognition that what we put into the world matters, that our energy has influence and holds possibility, means that blessing your children and all the kids at school when you drop them off has consequences. Sending love to the postal worker or the grocery clerk has consequences. Intending to have a great day with your colleagues at work has consequences. Each of these simple, personal actions holds the promises of making the world a better place by focusing our energy in the right direction. There are so many opportunities to flood your mind with good thoughts throughout the day. Louise says, and it can be so simple. As you go about your day, smile and say things to yourself like, I love my life. I love this day. Life loves me. I love it when the sun shines. It is wonderful to feel the love in my heart. Everything I do brings me joy. These thoughts will create a whole new experience for you. Louise and I decide to brainstorm other ways to fill the day with good thoughts. Here are some of the ideas we come up with. In the kitchen. Louise tells me, I always thank my stove for working well when I cook. So when you are in the kitchen, get in the habit of thanking your appliances. Thank your dishwasher, the blender, your teapot, the refrigerator, and so on, and use these affirmations while there. Hello Kitchen, you are my nourishment center. I appreciate you. You and all your appliances help me so much in easily preparing delicious, nutritious meals. There is such an abundance of good, healthy food in my fridge. I can easily make a delicious, nutritious meal. You help me be cheerful. I love you. During meals, since we all have to eat, you can associate positive affirmations with every meal. I am so grateful to have this wonderful meal. I bless this meal or food with love. I love selecting foods that are nutritious and delicious. The whole family is enjoying this meal. Mealtime is laughter time. Laughter is good for the digestion. Planning healthy meals is a joy. My body loves the way I choose perfect foods for every meal. I am so fortunate that I can select healthy foods for my family. We are all now nourished in preparation for the day before us. In this house, all our meals are harmonious. We gather together with great joy and love. Meal times are happy times. The kids love to try new foods. My body heals and strengthens with every bite I take. While doing laundry, choose 3 or 4 of your favorite affirmations from this book, tape them to your washer and dryer, and repeat them to yourself while doing the laundry. During the day, take 30 seconds to relax your shoulders and close your eyes. Inhale deeply through your nose as you count to 4. Hold your breath for 2 counts, and then exhale slowly through your mouth for 4 counts. End by opening your eyes and sending a loving thought to someone. In addition, get in the habit of asking yourself 2 questions throughout the day. How can I make myself happy in this moment? And what thoughts bring me joy? When on the computer, turn the passwords on your computer into positive affirmations. I tell Louise about a friend who started doing this after going through a tough divorce. He realized that many of his passwords were associated with his ex, so he changed them to empowering messages. Just imagine how good you'd feel if you logged in with something like I love life as your password. You can also use affirmations to learn something new or to work on a particular area of your life, Louise adds. Years ago, I remember putting up signs with affirmations like, I prosper wherever I turn, and my income is constantly increasing. I'm very visual, and it was good to see them every day. After a while, they became true. So we want to squeeze in affirmations anywhere we can. There's always time for an affirmation, she agrees with a wink. I even have an affirmation opposite my toilet that reads, I bless and prosper everyone in my world, and everyone in my world blesses and prospers me. I've had it there for a long time. Louise and I enjoy a leisurely dinner, and when we finish, we walk home and decide to retire early. I wake up feeling rested, and I head out to the kitchen to make myself a cup of tea while reciting a few affirmations quietly to myself. I sit on the sofa in the living room, waiting for the sun to rise behind a mountain range I see in the distance. I notice how comfortable it is here. A little later, Louise comes downstairs with one of the books she keeps by her bed, Alan Cohen's A Deep Breath of Life. She hands it to me and says, "This is the book I mentioned the last time we talked. Have a look." As I'm about to turn the first page, she instructs, "Open to a random page and see what the book has to say to you." Then she leaves. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and open to a page in the middle of the book. I feel an immediate chill as I read the title of the daily passage, A Place for God. The entry is about establishing an altar in your home, a place where the presence of God can be remembered and honored. I'm struck by a moment of synchronicity. For the last month, I've been talking to my husband about taking over a small room in our home to create an altar, something I'd really missed since moving from our previous place where we had one. I see this passage in Alan's book as a clear sign that I needed to make it a priority. I join Louise at the island in her kitchen and comment on the number of sitting areas around her apartment. It's important to pay attention to how we set up our home or work environment, where we spend most of our time, she explains. I love different places to sit and I love different views. I have a chaise lounge in my bedroom for reading and a window seat for thinking. I make sure I have spaces in the garden, the kitchen, the living room, and my bedroom. I even make sure I have a comfortable place to sit when working with my assistant, Shelley, in her office. It's clear that Louise sets things up in her life with intention and attention to detail. For years, I learned to tolerate my environment, either because I felt I couldn't afford to change it, or because I was so exhausted and overwhelmed that I didn't have the energy. Early in my training as a coach, my first mentor emphasized the importance of living and working in an environment that fueled me. That's when I started to take the idea seriously. I eliminated clutter, kept my home and office clean and organized, and got rid of anything I didn't love or need. Yet, seeing Louise's attention to detail, making sure every view is pleasant, whether from her desk or her kitchen table, for instance, brings this idea to another level. Sometimes all it takes is a small change to send a big message to yourself that says, "I love you and I care about what you need." Louise gives me a tour of the upstairs of her home where the offices are located. When we step into hers, I see affirmations strategically placed around her desk and find what appears to be a makeup mirror attached to an accordion lamp by her computer. Is this where you put on makeup on? Is this where you put makeup on? I ask. Louise turns around and looks a bit surprised. Now, why would I put makeup on at my desk? That's for mirror work. I have them throughout the house so I can give myself positive messages during the day. There's rarely a moment of prolonged embarrassment in Louise's company. Her loving, non-judgmental way makes it impossible to feel foolish for too long. So feeling just a little silly, I ask her to tell me more about how she uses her mirrors. "Doing mirror work is very, very important," she replies. "It only takes a second to say, 'Hi, kid,' or 'looking good,' or 'isn't this fun?' It's so important to give yourself little messages throughout the day. The more we use mirrors for complimenting ourselves, approving of ourselves, or supporting ourselves during difficult times, the more we develop a deeper or more enjoyable relationship with ourselves. The mirror needs to become a companion, a friend, instead of an enemy." I remember the days when the idea of becoming your own best friend sounded like a silly motivational slogan, but now I know it's crucial that we do so. Most of us are so hard on ourselves. As I look back on my own life, I can see that for years I made the mistake of believing that I could actually motivate myself to make positive changes by beating myself up, the old kick in the ass mentality. Now I see this for what it really is, a way of reinforcing limiting beliefs that keep us frightened and stuck. As I've incorporated mirror work into my life, I've learned a valuable lesson in what it means to stand up for myself in any situation. Over the last few years, the habit of looking into a mirror and talking to myself in a kind, loving, and supportive way has made a huge impact on my relationship with myself. I've come to know, really know, that I have a trusted friend in me, and that I will always stand by me regardless of what I do, mistakes and all. This practice has given me the freedom to step outside my comfort zone and expand my life in new and exciting ways. When something good happens in your life, you want to go to the mirror and say, thank you, that's terrific, thank you for doing this. Louise continues. Or if something awful happens to you, you want to go to the mirror and say, it's okay, I love you. This thing will pass, and I love you, and that's forever. We need to support ourselves with our words instead of tearing ourselves down. We tear ourselves down far too much. That's the voice of someone else we heard when we were children. Ah, yes, the voice of the internalized parent, the guardians or authority figures from our past who projected their own fear and self-hatred onto us. Many of us grew up hearing about what we didn't do right, for example, or we've been taught to protect ourselves by minimizing our talents and gifts to avoid being told, you're getting a big head. The practice of promoting growth with constant criticism is universal, and we end up taking these harsh voices in and making them our own. Our parents did the same thing, by the way. The critical voices are generational, and the truth is that by listening to and obeying them, we stop ourselves from expressing our full potential. This is why you need to be your own best cheerleader, Louise says. You can't expect other people to do it. If you're a cheerleader for yourself, it's easier to try new things. After our mirror lesson, Louise leads me back downstairs, where we continue our discussion about how to get a hold of the day. I grab my recorder and laptop and place them on the island in the kitchen where I can watch Louise as she makes breakfast. I want to talk about bringing awareness and good intentions to work. After all, most of us spend so much of our lives there, and it's where we're provided with plenty of opportunities to confront negative thinking and to practice good feeling thoughts and actions. It turns out that Louise has a lot to say about the topic. Years ago, I wrote a piece about blessing our work, and in it I shared some of the positive things people could do to feel better about their jobs, she tells me. Over the years, I've seen plenty of people improve the quality of their workday regardless of whether they felt stuck, bored, frustrated, or unappreciated. The most powerful tool that I can share with you to transform any situation is the power of blessing with love, she emphasizes. No matter where you work or how you feel about the place, bless it with love. I mean this literally. Don't just think positive thoughts in a vague way. Instead, say, I bless this job with love. Find a place where you can say this out loud. There is so much power in giving voice to love. And don't just stop there. Bless everything in your workplace with love. The equipment, the furniture, the machines, the products, the customers, the people you work with and for, and anything else associated with your job. It works wonders. I take a moment to consider what I'd bless in my own office, the little things that serve me every day. My favorite desk, my computer, the windows that make a beautiful frame for an equally beautiful view, or the pens I write with all day long. Then I think about the bigger, more important things. My assistants, Chris and Nicole, such kind and loving women. My dear bookkeeper Robin, who handles every detail with grace and ease, and my webmaster Terry, who really is masterful at what she does. I feel fortunate to work in a collaboration with individuals I respect and admire because I know from experience that workplace relationships can be quite challenging. Over the years, I've received thousands of requests for help in dealing with disgruntled coworkers, employees, or employers. So I asked Louise to share her thoughts about these relationships. If you have a difficult time with someone at work, you can use your mind to change the situation, she responds. Affirmations work very well for this. Try. I have a wonderful relationship with everyone at work, including blank. Every time that person comes into your mind, repeat the affirmation on your way to work. Affirm things like, I am surrounded by wonderful coworkers. All of my coworkers are just a delight to be with, or we have so much fun together. Regardless of what's going on, that's what you keep saying. And when you find yourself saying anything else, just stop yourself and say, no, no, no. I have a wonderful relationship with all of my coworkers. Whenever they come up in your mind, especially the ones you have trouble with, focus on what's right with them instead of what's wrong. You will be amazed by how the relationship improves. I've seen things you can't even imagine happen. Just speak the words and let the universe sort out the details. I asked Louise if she can think of a story from her own life that would demonstrate the kind of miracle with respect to good relationships with coworkers. She has a great one at the ready. I remember having a client named George years ago who had a new job coming up. He was a pianist in a nightclub. During our first meeting, he said, I'm excited about my new job, but the only problem is that the boss has a horrible reputation with employees. Everybody's afraid of him. They hide from him, and people even tell me they hate him. I wonder what I'm going to do. So I told him, okay, first of all, as you're going towards the building, bless it with love. If there are elevators or doors, bless them with love. If you have a dressing room, bless it with love. Bless the whole place with love, including every employee in it, and affirm that you have an absolutely wonderful relationship with your boss. Keep affirming, I have a wonderful relationship with my boss. And whenever you leave the building, continue to bless it with love. Within 6 weeks, he came to me and said, everyone is amazed. The boss really likes me. He's always coming up and saying, hi, George, how are you doing? You're doing a great job. And he's even slipped me $20 bills now and then, which was a lot of money at the time. All the other employees are shocked. They keep asking, what in the hell are you doing? You see, it worked for George. The boss was mean to everyone else and yet great to him. As I listened to Elise tell the story, I realized this is a good example of how easy it is to get co-opted into the history of others. Like George, so many of us walk into something new, a job, a neighborhood, a volunteer group, or a class, and buy into the stories of the people we join rather than program the types of experiences we'd most likely like to have. As Louise explains, sometimes we take our history with us. If you hate the job you have now, for example, there is a danger that you will take that hatred with you when you move to a new one. However good the new job is, you will soon find yourself hating it too. Whatever feelings or thoughts you have within you will now be carried to the new place. If you live within a world of discontentment, you will find it wherever you go. Only by changing your consciousness will you start to see positive results in your life. If you absolutely hate your current job, try this affirmation. I always love where I work. I have the best jobs. I am always appreciated. If you do so, then when a new one comes along, it will be good and you will be able to really enjoy it. By continually affirming this, you'll be creating a new personal law for yourself, and the universe will respond in kind. Like attracts like, and life will it. If you'd like to get a new job, then in addition to blessing your current one, try this affirmation. I release this job to the next person who will be so glad to be here. That particular job was ideal for you at the time you got it. Now your sense of self-worth has grown and you're ready to move on to better things. Your affirmations are, I accept a job that uses all my creative talents and abilities. This job is deeply fulfilling and it is a joy for me to go to work each day. I work for people who appreciate me. The building where I work is light, bright, and airy, and filled with a feeling of enthusiasm. My new job is in the perfect location and I earn good money, for which I am deeply grateful. So we're placing ourselves in good situations by first placing ourselves in good situations in our minds. Yes, you want to be the person who does the positive affirmations and hears about friends who have problems rather than the friend who has the problems. You're placing yourself in life experiences with every thought you think, and once you realize that, you can do so much more with your life. We decided to take a break at this point since we need to get ready for the day. We're going to the Hay House corporate office in Carlsbad, just north of San Diego, for a lunch meeting and to visit with employees. Louise and I walk down to the garage toward her car. When I get into the passenger side, I grin as I read an affirmation stuck on the console. Smile with your s- smile with your liver. For a moment, I imagine a giant yellow smiley face plastered across my liver, keeping it happy and healthy. On our drive to Hay House, I flip the conversation from being an employee to being an employer. I wonder about the ways to positively impact the workplace when you're the one running the show. If you're an employer, it is so important to thank your employees, she tells me. People love receiving small notes from time to time, or a hug, or some acknowledgement of a job well done. It makes everyone feel good. So the old idea of ruling with an iron fist doesn't work? I ask in mock seriousness. Never. I don't understand bosses who think that if they yell at their employees, they'll do better work. They won't, because they're now frightened or resentful, and they cannot do good work when you feel like that. If you're a boss, you need to be aware of what you're doing to your employees. Well, I'll make them work harder. That doesn't make people work harder, it makes them work frightened. It's obvious to me that Louise cares deeply about the people who work for her company. When we get to the office, one of the first things she has planned to do is to participate in a thank you video for an employee who's leaving Hay House after many years of service. I ask her what she's going to say. I intend to say, "We love you, we want you to go off and have a fabulous life. Thank you for being here. You were really helpful. Go forth and have new adventures like you've never had before," she replies. I say this a lot when writing notes. May your life continue to grow and expand. Who wouldn't be energized or feel cared for and confident when these kinds of messages from an employer? Who wouldn't want to work hard and contribute to the success of the company? Ongoing positive feedback is a rarity in the workplace. So many of us never received positive endorsements when growing up, so it doesn't even occur to us to give them to others now as adults. My first life coach was a stickler for acknowledging clients. He had me put several 3x5 index cards around my office with the words endorse, endorse, endorse on each one. He wanted me to have a constant reminder to be a strong champion for my clients' strengths and success. Clearly, it's a skill that needs to be developed and practiced, especially by employers. They have so much to gain from these types of habits. Back at Hay House, Louise shows me around, and I enjoy seeing the faces of the men and women I work with, most of whom I'd only known by phone or email up to this point. There are so many good people at this company who care about the products they put out into the world. Books, events, online programs, movies, and other tools that have such a life-changing positive impact on their customers. Throughout the morning, as Louise and I go in and out of meetings and conversations, she maintains a positive, upbeat attitude. I can't get over the amount of energy she has at 84 years old. At the end of our day, I stop in to say goodbye to my production team at Hay House Radio. Their offices are located near the reception area of the building, and I keep an eye out for Louise, who will meet me at the front door. While standing just inside the studio, I see her come around the corner, deep in conversation with an employee, a young man who looks to be in his early 30s. As they finish up, I watch as she hugs him and says, "I love you." I shake my head and marvel, what boss does that in corporate America? When the workday is done, coming home has its own set of thought patterns. So, on the drive back to Lisa's place, she completes our daily plan. Once again, we need to ask ourselves, how do I feel when I get home? How do I feel when I see my partner, my children, or my roommates? I remember long ago spending time with a friend who used to greet her husband with the latest disaster, and as I watched her, I thought, why do you do that? When I was married, I always made sure that when my husband walked in the door, I greeted him with a hug and a kiss and a welcoming attitude. Instead, my friend gave her husband bad news, the toilet won't work, Or the kids have been crazy. Now that news could have waited 80 seconds and been delivered after, "Hi honey, I love you. How was your day?" Just as when we leave the house at the beginning of the day, we want to bring our awareness to the thoughts we think when we get home. Take a second to ask yourself, how do I feel when I pull into my driveway? How do I feel when I walk up to the door? What's the first thing I say to others or myself when I walk inside? Of course, Louise has some affirmations for approaching the door. "Good evening, house. I'm back home. I'm so glad to be here. I love you. Let us have a great evening together. I'm looking forward to seeing my family. We have a lovely time together tonight." The kids whiz through their homework in no time. Dinner seems to make itself. "Do you look forward to your evening at home?" Louise continues. "If so, why? If not, why not? What are you thinking about when you're making dinner or getting takeout? Is dinner a joyful event, or is it something that frustrates you or makes you feel irritable? Do you grab the worst possible, faster processed food or food that nourishes you? How do you talk to yourself when you're cleaning up? Do you look forward to going to bed?" I smile when I hear her last question. I always look forward to going to bed. When my workday is done, I straighten up my desk, make plans for the next morning, and shut the door. Having a clear end to the workday is important. When it's time to go to sleep, I think of the bedroom as my sanctuary, a place of rejuvenation and healing. Whenever anyone asks me for my secret to success, a good night's sleep is always near the top of the list. I thrive on it, at least 8 hours a night, and I make a point to really honor what my body needs to get good rest. I use a few simple guidelines to get the sleep I need. Go to the bed at the same time every night. Keep TV out of the bedroom. Make sure the room is dark and a bit cool. Don't have any food or caffeine at least 3 to 4 hours before I sleep. Use soft, comfortable sheets. Slip into bed warmed by a heating pad. Then the pad is shut off and unplugged. Read a good book to get sleepy. I admit to Louise that while I normally keep all the electronics out of the room, every now and then I'll get pulled into a news story and end up reading about it on my phone while in bed. She has an immediate reaction. No, no, no. Seeing the news just before you go to sleep takes all that negativity into your dream world. I'm so against people watching or reading the news in bed. But I prefer to get my news online from places where I can monitor what I'll see, I tell her. I am very sensitive and don't like violent news or stories that leave me feeling helpless or unsettled. "I don't care what the news is," Louise cuts in. "You need to be mindful of what you're putting into your consciousness before you go to sleep. I feel strongly about this." Once again, I'm reminded that good self-care begins with caring for our thoughts. It's so easy to ignore or minimize even the occasional habits that may be putting our emotional or mental health at risk. Listening to Louise's passionate take on being exposed to the news before bed convinces me to stop reading it right then and there. Instead, I'll stick to placing my attention on a good book from now on. I love reading stories that touch my heart, human interest stories, or something inspirational, she says. Reading takes precedence over anything else. I don't watch much TV anyway. To me, television is newfangled. It's not what I was raised with. Often I listen to meditation CDs before going to bed and may even fall asleep to them on a low volume. I usually do a blessing, a thank you for the day and for what I've accomplished. Then I greet my bed and get ready to go to sleep. Sometimes I revisit the day in my mind, but not always. The day is done. In preparation for the close of the day and to finish the topic of living more consciously throughout the day, I ask Louise if she performs any type of ritual before drifting off to sleep. I take a few deep breaths as I close my eyes. Then, on the in-breath, I say, "life," and on the out-breath, "loves me." I repeat it several times as I drift off to sleep. Life loves me, life loves me, life loves me. A great ending indeed. Right, that is chapter 4. I will likely be back tomorrow with chapter 5. Sorry I missed yesterday. I was dealing with something. But yes, I'll see you guys later.